2 minutes till broadcast. One minute till broadcast. Thirty seconds till broadcast. Five, 4, 3, 2, 1. Begin transmission.
Fighting for freedom every day.
Let me tell you, the response to the show has been absolutely amazing. People can't believe that a young conservative millennial continues to fight for constitutional principles, traditional values, and talks about issues that some are even afraid to talk about. But we do it because we understand the importance of this. And now we're seeing it absolutely blow up all across the nation.
This is the Voice of Reason with Andy Hooser.
You're darn right it is. Can you believe that we are officially 1 week away from Christmas? I am having a very difficult time ungrasping that one, although it has kind of been a blur this year with the whole, COVID-19 thing. I don't know what everybody's talking about. But hey, we are getting into the holidays, so that's something to be cheerful of. I know that by really this weekend, most people are going to be kind of checked out and done because they just want to be over with all the shenanigans. We have the election that's still undecided right now. But Andy, the Electoral College voted. Yes. And we'll talk about some of that with some of the latest information on the election, with some of the investigations that are going on, and the certification of the Electoral College votes on January 6th coming up in Congress. Is there going to be a challenge of it? And is there other information that we should be looking at as well? Yesterday, we had an interesting guest on, and I want to kind of comment on what he had to say as well, so we'll get to that here in just a minute. At the bottom of the hour, we have Congressman Bob Latta from the 5th District of the great state of Ohio. We love Ohio and all of our listeners out there, so we will have him on at the bottom here in a little bit as well. But welcome into the show, broadcasting live out of the heart of the nation here in Wichita, Kansas, on our flagship radio station all over the country, radio, TV, live streaming, and podcasting. No matter where you may be watching or listening, we appreciate you for hanging out with us each and every day. There's so much to get to between all of that. Plus, there's been stories that I've been sitting on for like 4 days and I haven't even talked about because we never have time. As we try to cram like 4 days worth of stuff into 1 day of content, because that's just what we do here on the show. So welcome into it. A lot to get to, and I want to jump right into our guest. As you know, the Electoral College may have voted. The media may be saying it's done, it's over, don't even look at anything else, because if you do, then you are a nut job. You are a conspiracy theorist, man. Come on. I was about to say conspiracy fool, but I guess that works too. Either way, you're nuts if you believe any of this stuff. The election ran smoothly. We didn't have one single fraudulent vote be cast in any way, shape, or form from an electronic system, or from dead people voting, or from people voting out of states, or whatever else. That didn't happen. Never happened. It only happened in 2016 when Donald Trump won, because then Russia colluded But now that we may have information about foreign intelligence actually being involved with our election this time, it's not the case because our guy won. Russia wouldn't actually try and get Donald Trump out. He colluded with Russia the last time, right? So I want to get to all that. We have the forensics going on when it comes to the Dominion voting system in both the states of Michigan and Arizona. I think we're maybe kind of at least talking about it in Georgia. I don't know. So I want to talk about that here with our next guest, which I'm excited to have on the program. He is a writer and a contributor for the New American Magazine. I'm excited to have on the program Luis Miguel with us here. Luis, how are you, my friend?
Doing good, sir. Glad to be here with you.
Hey, yeah, it's great to have you on the program. I appreciate it very much. Where are we with this? Because we've heard not a whole lot from the media at all, and the little bit that we hear comes from Sidney Powell or Rudy Giuliani or Lynn Wood or even Donald Trump himself, and we don't get the whole story because they're limited on what they can actually release to the public without the media just shutting them down and calling them conspiracy theorist radical nut jobs. So where are we with all this? Is there still a chance of some type of investigation, some type of signature ballot audits, or even with the Dominion system? I mean, are we getting closer to finding the answer about potential voter fraud in this election?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, investigations are still going underway. Hearings are taking place as we speak in several different places. So the media's talking point that they parrot so perfectly and uniformly that it's all over. It's a done deal that Joe Biden is going to be coronated as the next president. It's nothing more than propaganda. They want us to be distracted from what's actually taking place. They don't want the public to realize just how extensive the fraud was. As an example, there's a huge bombshell this week that came out of Michigan where a circuit court judge actually gave permission to the attorney for the plaintiff in a case to release the findings from a forensic examination that was done of Dominion machines in Antrim County. And the results that were released were simply astounding. Some of you might have seen this, wrote about this for the New American. But there was a 68.5% error rate in those machines. Yeah. And what the audit company found was that this was actually a built-in intentional error rate. And what happens was that once that percentage of votes were marked as errors, and that sent them into an adjudication, which means that they either through, and this is what they're looking at, either through a software or through manual manipulation, were able to be changed, were able to be manipulated or switched from one candidate to the other. And so it's absolutely bombshell finding right there. And it's ridiculous that the mainstream media isn't covering this, but of course they're trying to sweep all evidence under the rug and claim there is none.
Well, sure. They're saying that there is none, no droids to see here. These aren't the droids you're looking for, kind of thing. I mean, but now I saw the hearing a couple of days ago with the CEO of Dominion talking to some of the state legislators in Michigan, trying to do some type of discussion a little bit, and they had asked him about that, and all he said was that, well, they changed a local race on the ballot, and the software didn't get updated properly, and therefore that's why those machines had a 68% error rate on them. Well, it's just because we didn't upload the proper software with the updated proper ballots onto the machine, so therefore that's why they were all wrong. That seems a little wild to me.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's interesting that how many coincidences there are right in all this. Yeah. I mean, it was FDR who famously said that in politics, nothing happens by accident. If something happens, you can bet that it was planned that way. And conveniently also, that all of these little coincidences, quote unquote, always end up being in Joe Biden's favor.
Yeah, and funny how that works.
Yeah. And so, I mean, for example, here's just another example. In Nevada, also this week, it turns out that they did a probe into voter registration of non-citizens based on data from the DMV. The DMV over there just recently changed their rules for this election cycle, allowing people to be registered at a time they go to get your driver's license. I guess that's something that's taking place in a lot of places, actually. So anyway, long story short, it turns out that they had thousands of people who, non-citizens, either green card holders or illegals, who registered to vote, and thousands, over 3,000 in fact, ended up casting ballots in this election.
Wow.
So it's another little convenient oddity right there that to add to the list.
Unbelievable. It's just these little things that just add up all over the place, little by little, in all these states, just the little shenanigans that they try to pull, and then voila, look at that, all of a sudden Joe Biden has 80 million votes nationwide when we know that he can't pull in 20 people at a rally, which is just absolutely ridiculous. I mean, where do we go with this? We have this information. We have a 68% error rate in these machines in Michigan. Now we're looking a deeper look into them, but number one, do we have enough time before the certification of the electoral ballots by January 6th, and will a court actually look at this stuff? Because every time we've tried it so far, it hasn't gone anywhere, and we've seen all these court cases drop.
Exactly. And, this is a situation where, I'm not going to lie, it's there's a window of opportunity for the president, and really for all of us. I mean, let's be real. Right now, the president's fate, his fate in this election is inextricably tied to all of ours, to ours as a country, because if this fraud isn't stopped, if it's allowed to continue and change the course of the election, I mean, just imagine how devastating that's going to be for the future of elections in America, the integrity of our system, and people's faith in the process. Now, right now, there's a limited window. Obviously, we have very little time. Now, there is obviously enough time if one of these cases could get off the ground for something to happen. In my estimation, it's a bit tenuous because, frankly, so many judges in our judicial system are simply part of the swamp. And the Supreme Court looks like we saw with Texas, reticent to take the case on. So my money would be, if I had to put it somewhere, that it may just have to come down to the courage of people in Congress to try to go the route that Representative Brooks is organizing right now and try to do something, a Hail Mary there at the last minute. Because the courts, I'm not sure, are really going to be able to get something in time.
Yeah, that's unfortunate. We're talking with Luis Miguel. You can find him online on Twitter at Luis Miguel US, Luis Miguel US on there. Also, LuisAntonioMiguel.com is the website, as he's a writer-contributor for the New American Magazine. Let's talk about that process for a second, because as you mentioned, this kind of Hail Mary last backup that we have that the Founding Fathers conveniently put into the Constitution in case we were concerned about a fraudulent election in some way, shape, or form, is that these electoral votes go to Congress. They go to certify them on January 6th. They read them. Mike Pence, the vice president, also the head of the Senate, kind of oversees all of this. If there is a concern about fraud in this vote, then they raise the concern, they vote on it, and then they could stop the electoral votes from actually counting. How does this process work?
Well, exactly. Pretty much summed it up pretty well. And that's right. I mean, it's the members of Congress. It's going to the votes from the electors are going to arrive on January 6th, where they will then be counted. And there is this discretion there for the members of the Congress to be able to, if they perceive that there was fraud from some of these states, despite the fact that they were certified and the electors were sent from a Republican slate, that they can choose to reject these. And ultimately what people, legal scholars, analysts, constitutional experts are looking at and anticipating is that this would result in a situation, because of these discard results, in which neither candidate would arrive with the 270 needed to win the presidency, which would trigger a mechanism that the Founding Fathers very wisely and very presciently created in anticipation of these kinds of situations, which would be where the House votes for the president, every state delegation having a single vote, and of course supporters of the president see some optimism, some signs of hope there because of the fact that presently Republicans control a greater number of state delegations than Democrats do in the chamber.
Sure.
And the vice president, of course, would be decided in the Senate, which with every senator having a single vote. But with the current Republican majority, the expectation there would be that Vice President Pence would win, according to the current party lines.
That would be very interesting. Now, we got just about a minute left before we have to let you go, but if we go down that road and if that ends up happening at the end of the day, what do you think the response would be from the left side of the aisle, with them just certain that the game is over, the election's done, that Donald Trump's just this tyrant, evil, orange man, fascist, Nazi bad guy that's just trying to stay in power, and then we end up challenging it and having Congress override the quote-unquote voice of the people? What would the backlash be from something like that, do you think, from the media and from the left side of the aisle?
It's a fantastic question, and sadly we don't have time to go into it in great detail. I've written a lot about that in New American. and I recommend everyone go and check it out. But the left has actually been, and the establishment, people like Soros have been anticipating this very eventuality for months now, and they've actually prepared a lot of people through well-funded organizations like that Transition Integrity Project to basically activate a street army to create mass unrest. And what we saw with Black Lives Matter and Antifa, in many cases, were recruiting grounds to get the people ready so that when this happens and Trump, quote-unquote, steals the election, they'll press the go button and send everyone out on the streets to cause mayhem to try to basically delegitimize President Trump's victory.
So they've almost been planning for this, kind of knowing something like this would happen, and they were prepared just in case it did with all of the crazy Black Lives Matter Antifa rallies that have gone on all over the nation. It is really makes you think on the deep state, as you talk about in a lot of your writing when it comes to Washington, D.C. politics. Luis Miguel, the New American Magazine, also LuisAntonioMiguel.com. We appreciate it, my friend. We'll get you back on the show again here real soon. This is The Voice of Reason. Stay here.
Voice of Reason with Andy Hooser.
Hey, it's Andy Hooser with The Voice of Reason. Fighting for conservative principles seems more difficult all the time. The progressive left seems to find new and creative ways to limit freedom, abuse power, and trample the Constitution each and every day. That's why we need the knowledge, resources, and common sense to push back, and we can help with that. Visit our website at HooserReason.com. There's some really great stuff for you. You can read the latest blog discussing topical issues and current events. Let us know your thoughts by filling out our monthly survey. Keep track of what I might be doing or where I may be speaking. Listen to the podcast of your favorite guest or show, and check out our latest Voice of Reason product infomercials. Plus, you can find upcoming show schedules and guest lineups to plan your radio listening appropriately. And finally, make sure to become a Hoosier-holic by subscribing to the free newsletter. Stay up to date on the latest news of the show, fun facts of the month, and learn new ways to defend and preserve this great republic. It's all there at HooserReason.com. Again, HooserReason.com. Go check it out. Why? Because it's kind of the reasonable thing to do. Hey, it's Andy Hooser. Want to reach out to the show? A big part of the program is you, and we want to hear from you. Let us know your thoughts of the show, maybe a guest we've had on the program, or my favorite, when you disagree with something that I talk about. You can email me at HooserMediaNetwork@gmail.com or send us a message through our website at HooserReason.com. The show's not about me, it's about you. So be heard and be your own voice of reason. Again, email me at HooserMediaNetwork@gmail.com or find our contact information at HooserReason.com. Miss part of the show? Don't worry about it. There's plenty of ways to catch the program, and here's how you can do it. First, make sure to tune in every day right here on your favorite radio station. We're here for you. Second, subscribe to the podcast on any of your favorite sites. YouTube and iTunes, Spotify and Google Play, TuneIn, Podbean, and more. Have the show automatically downloaded to your favorite device. Last, visit our website at HooserReason.com. You can listen to the podcast, catch our special features, and more. It's the Voice of Reason on radio, TV, and online, helping you defend and preserve this great republic. Hey, it's Andy Hooser with The Voice of Reason. The show's growing all the time, and as we talk about the big issues of the day, one of the big parts of the program is you. And I want you to join us on the program. Whether you agree, disagree, or just want to relieve some of that political frustration, we're here for you. No matter where you may be watching, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, go ahead and leave a comment on the live stream. Chat with other listeners and let me know your thoughts on the topic. Also chat with us on the Podbean chat room. Just go to our live stream of the show at podbean.com and chat with other listeners. You can also call into the program. Just download the Podbean app onto your smartphone, join the live stream, and call in through the app. This is your show, and we want to hear your thoughts. So go ahead and join us here on the Voice of Reason and the Hooser Media Network. Hey, miss a show? Don't worry about it. You have plenty of opportunities to watch, listen, learn, and be entertained with the Voice of Reason anytime you want. And here's how you can do it. First, become a Hoosier-holic by going to HooserReason.com and signing up for the show newsletter to get the latest on the show, upcoming guests, topical discussions, and more. Next, subscribe to the podcast and have the show automatically downloaded to any platform you like to use. You can subscribe through any of your favorite platforms with iTunes and Spotify, Google Play and TuneIn, or you can also go and subscribe directly to our Podbean website. Last, subscribe to the YouTube channel. Just go to youtube.com, search Hooser Reason, and subscribe to watch all of our shows, videos, and get notified whenever we're live. All the links and info are at HooserReason.com. For a schedule of upcoming guests on the program, daily show topics, or to reach out to the Hooser Media Network, visit us on the website at HooserReason.com. Or for general inquiries, to be a guest on the program, or to have Andy a guest on your program, email us at HooserMediaNetwork@gmail.com. Keep fighting for freedom with us every day right here on the Voice of Reason and the Hooser Media Network. Now, back to the show.
You're listening to the Voice of Reason with Andy Hooser.
24 minutes past the hour. Welcome back into the Voice of Reason. Thanks for hanging out with us today on a pre-Friday celebration, the greatest day of the entire week. Yes, I did say it. Radio, TV, live streaming, podcasting, doesn't matter where you're at. We appreciate you very much. Trying to cram that 10 pounds of reason into that 5-pound bag. Trying to rebrand the millennial generation, one radio listener at a time. Looking through some of the comments here on social media. Yes, John Radcliffe announced evidence of foreign voter interference. So that's a big headline today for what's trending.
What's trending today?
So if you have not heard, according to Bloomberg.com, not some obscure, crazy, wild blog or something, but actual Bloomberg.com. Here's the headline, though. I find quite entertaining with it because they're so adamant that no election fraud happened whatsoever. Now remember, 2016, Russia colluded with Trump to win the election. Trump is an unvalidated, uncertified president of the United States. He is an illegitimate president. He did not win. Russia did it for him. We're all whatever he won in the first election, like 76 or 66, 67 million votes. He won because of Russian spies, not because he actually won the presidential election. So Russia colluded last time. We haven't done anything, but all of a sudden now this one's totally squeaky clean. Totally. There's no way fraud happened in this one whatsoever. Yeah. So according to Bloomberg, Trump spy chief stirs dispute over China election meddling views. Yeah. Wait a second. So there's been no election fraud whatsoever in this election. So now the head of the, Central Intelligence, the guy who actually, watches and surveils other nations and our intelligence and our spying and, the glitches and hacking and, our security for the nation. The director of national intelligence, John Radcliffe, says that the Chinese were interfering with our election. And it's not true. He's just trying to stir the pot a little bit, according to Bloomberg.com. Trump spy chief stirs dispute over China election meddling views. It's just an opinion. It's just a view. It's not really happening. Just because Joe Biden received millions of dollars from China over the last however many years doesn't mean the Chinese are actually trying to help him. Just because Donald Trump tried to create tariffs to fight against the trade wars against China to make trade a little bit fair and Chinese are really upset with us because of all that, doesn't mean that they actually tried to pay and interfere with our election to get Donald Trump out of office. In fact, they did the opposite because Donald Trump buddies up and partners up with tyrants and communists and all that other stuff, right? My brain hurts thinking about all that and how the Democrats actually try and manipulate things. Remember yesterday in our whole manipulation talk? Sociopaths, narcissists, where they can manipulate anything around them and actually make people believe it. Well, that's what they are, and they do that very well. Statement from the Director of National Intelligence, John Radcliffe's office yesterday night said the deadline won't be met for turning in their report on foreign efforts to sway the November election because they've received relevant reporting since the election and a number of agencies have not finished coordinating the product. To break that down for you, they have a deadline that is tomorrow for them to report on whether foreign efforts, foreign nations have actually interfered with our elections or not. And because of new information that has come to light, probably with the investigation of the Dominion systems, they now say, wait a second, we have more information we're trying to break down. We're not going to hit the tomorrow deadline. Because China and Russia have interfered with our elections, which is according to John Radcliffe. Not me, John Radcliffe, the Director for National Intelligence. John Radcliffe, that guy, is saying there's interference. Now, what do we do with that type of information? Where do we go from there? Do we just like, oh, well, okay, that's nice, and then move on? Or do we say, wait a second, that's not tolerable? According to the last 4 years, that's what the Democrats have been saying. That's intolerable. That's unconscionable. How could we do something like that, actually have someone interfering in our elections? We can't be having something like that. So you had YouTube and Facebook and Twitter and all the other social media just locked down and be like, we're going to stop you from sharing any information that we disagree with because if you do share it, then you're probably a Russian agent. So we got that going for us. So what do we do now? Does that mean that we have foreign interference in our election? Yeah. What was that executive order that Donald Trump signed a couple years ago in preparation of something like this potentially? Oh my. We'll talk about that in a little bit here as well. When we come back, though, after the bottom of the hour, Bob Latta, congressman from the 5th District of Ohio, will be joined by him to talk about the latest in Washington, D.C. and more here on The Voice of Reason.
The Voice of Reason with Andy Hooser.
Hey, it's Andy Hooser. While you listen to the delightful broadcast of The Voice of Reason, don't forget to check us out and follow us on all of our social media sites. Whether you're using Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Minds.com, or Instagram, we're there for you. Find us at Hooser Reason on any of your social media platforms. You'll see special commentary, links to the articles and news that we use on the show, and videos of the broadcast. Plus, you can directly send us a message on social media during the show to let me know your thoughts. Many already do, and it's a great chat room for all of our great listeners. And you can always sign up for the Patreon site to get exclusive content, maybe hear show products before we air them on the radio, and a lot more. And when you support us on Patreon, you also help the show be able to fight for conservative values each and every day. So it's a win-win. Just find us at Hooser Reason on all of your social media platforms, or you can find a link to all of our social media sites on our website at HooserReason.com. We know you're on social media already, so bring some reason into your day. Why? Because it's kind of the reasonable thing to do.
The Hooser Media Network is way more than just the voice of reason. It's your source to find numerous different online talk shows, podcasts, TV, and radio programs, all in one simple online location for you. From political talk to health talk to whatever you may be interested in, we're here for you. And I tell you, it's growing every day. Catch Tracy Maxfield with her podcast Engage, Educate, and Empower, discussing mental health issues in children and teenagers. From bullying, teenage suicide, addiction, ADHD, and so much more, learn from Tracy and her guests about symptoms, signs, and ways to talk to your children, plus so much more. Having battled depression, being the author of the internationally acclaimed book Escaping the Rabbit Hole, and being a retired nurse, Tracy is kind of the go-to on the subject. Make sure to find her on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube, along with her website at tracymaxfield.com. Also, make sure to tune into the weekly podcast Jump, Pivot, and Roll with Shannon Stiles and Rachel Murphy. Taking that next big leap of faith is hard. Trying to write a book, maybe struggling with a relationship, looking to take that next big career step. What's stopping you? There's a lot of big questions there, and they're questions that Rachel and Shannon want to help with you each and every week. It's Jump, Pivot, and Roll on any of your favorite podcasting sites and on Facebook and YouTube. All of these shows and a heck of a lot more can be found on the Hooser Media Network Facebook and YouTube channels. Make sure to follow and subscribe to check them out today. Follow all the shows, and if you have any inquiries, check us out at HooserMediaNetwork@gmail.com. Hey, miss a show? Don't worry about it. You have plenty of opportunities to watch, listen, learn, and be entertained with The Voice of Reason anytime you want. And here's how you can do it. First, become a Hooserholic by going to HooserReason.com and signing up for the show newsletter to get the latest on the show, upcoming guests, topical discussions, and more. Next, subscribe to the podcast and have the show automatically downloaded to any platform you like to use. You can subscribe to any of your favorite platforms with iTunes and Spotify, Google Play and TuneIn, or you can also go and subscribe directly to our Podbean website. Last, subscribe to the YouTube channel. Just go to youtube.com, search Hooser Reason, and subscribe to watch all of our shows, videos, and get notified whenever we're live. All the links and info are at HooserReason.com. Oh, hi. You know, conservative messages now are more important than ever before. Election season, state legislative issues, and a rise in the radical left socialist progressive agenda. What we really need now more than ever before is knowledge and wisdom. That's where we come in. Hi, I'm Andy Hooser with The Voice of Reason, and I'm your voice for reasonable talk, conservative commentary, great guests and entertainment on radio, TV, and the internet. It's time to bring some common sense back into the discussion. National issues, state legislative issues, no matter where you may be, upcoming elections, and a heck of a lot more, we can bring traditional values, constitutional principles, and local activism back. And here's what you can do. First, follow us on all the social media platforms at Hooser Reason. You can watch the live stream of the show, leave comments, and even call into the program. Second, make sure to subscribe to the podcast on all of your audio devices, from iTunes and Spotify to Google Play and TuneIn, Make sure to subscribe to have every episode automatically downloaded so you don't miss a single episode. Third, make sure to visit our website at HooserReason.com. You can catch our monthly blog talking about deeper discussions, see who's coming on the program, plus you can sign up for our free monthly newsletter to catch the latest on the show, monthly topics, upcoming interviews, and more. It's time to be that local activist again. That's what the Voice of Reason's all about. Why? Because that's kind of the reasonable thing to do. And it's time for you to speak up, speak out, speak loud, speak proud, speak the truth, and always speak some reason.
Hey, it's Andy Hooser with the Voice of Reason. The show's growing all the time, and as we talk about the big issues of the day, one of the big parts of the program is you. And I want you to join us on the program. Whether you agree, disagree, or just want to relieve some of that political frustration, we're here for you. No matter where you may be watching, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, go ahead and leave a comment on the live stream. Chat with other listeners and let me know your thoughts on the topic. Also chat with us on the Podbean chat room. Just go to our live stream of the show at podbean.com and chat with other listeners. You can also call into the program. Just download the Podbean app onto your smartphone, join the live stream, and call in through the app. This is your show, and we want to hear your thoughts. So go ahead and join us here on the Voice of Reason and the Hooser Media Network.
When Reason Meets Radio. You're listening to the Voice of Reason with Andy Hooser.
Welcome back into the program. Thanks for hanging out with us today here on a pre-Friday celebration, the greatest day of the entire week. Your Millennial General reporting for duty. Hey, by the way, just to let you know, we have a brand new Voice of Reason product coming up tomorrow. So make sure to stay tuned into the program tomorrow. You're not going to want to miss it. We have a holiday festive one for you. Not going to give you a tease on what it is, but as some of you may know, we do these satire infomercials selling Voice of Reason satire products. They're not real products yet. I am working on it, though. We are going to have some fun and eventually start with the Hooser Media Network as we begin to continue to grow and have some fun. We're going to start making gag gifts for everyone with our actual products, so stay tuned in for that. That'll be pretty cool. But right now, we just have the fun infomercials for the radio broadcast, and we have a brand new Voice of Reason product being released tomorrow. You'll also be able to find it on the website at HooserReason.com. Which I do encourage. We are just a few days away or a couple weeks away from the end of the week, so make sure to stay tuned in and go to HooserReason.com. Subscribe to the newsletter, as we have a few new people that have subscribed already as well. Newsletter coming out at the beginning of each month. Totally free. We're not going to spam you a whole bunch, just doing a monthly newsletter talking about the latest with the show, some upcoming guests, topic of the day, whatever it is. And we have some fun with that one. So make sure to go to HooserReason.com. No I in Hooser, HOOSER, reason.com. Subscribe to that and check out all the fun goodies. We will have the infomercial on there tomorrow as well. All right, we sat down with Congressman Bob Latta from the 5th District of the great state of Ohio. We love having him on a monthly basis. Now, we did this interview like early this week, so it's a few days old, but still nonetheless, it's great to chat with him. And like usual, we went a very long time. And that means that we actually have an extended interview, so we'll upload the special feature of the podcast on there as well with the full interview. But this is what we sat down with Congressman Bob Latta from the 5th District of Ohio. The 5th District out of the great state of Ohio. It's Congressman Bob Latta with us here today. Congressman, how are you, my friend?
Good. The sun's shining in Washington.
Sun shining in Washington. That's right. You guys are back at it, and there's already a lot of things you guys are addressing to try and wrap up the end of the year. I've heard that you guys are getting closer potentially to a coronavirus relief package again. You guys are still working on the budget, but it seems like you guys are doing like weekly budgets right now until the coronavirus relief package is done. Is that true?
Well, it's pretty much standard, unfortunately, because what's supposed to happen here is we're supposed to have our 12 appropriation bills done, plus the Democrats should have come out with a budget to begin with. And, these things don't get done with the Democrats controlling the House. And so what we had was what they call a continuing resolution just to keep the government running, and then it's going to run out this week. And so we don't want to see the government go into a shutdown. But the problem is that when you look at continuing resolutions, you can't really do anything. All it does is continue things on. And so yesterday, the National Defense Authorization Act, which is how we fund our military, and it's so important to make sure that our military get pay raises and to help our veterans and make sure that our war fighters have the tools they need to defend us, everything from ships to aircraft to tanks, you name it. But, that bill did pass yesterday, but the big problems we still have on the horizon are the coronavirus package, which the Democrats have really been playing games with, and Speaker Pelosi pretty much admitted that in a press conference because of the election, and then, of course, the how we're going to fund the government so we don't have a shutdown.
Wow. It's unfortunate that we haven't been able to get these appropriate. Now, when was the last time we actually did get through all 12 appropriations bills? It's been a while, hasn't it?
Well, it has, and but it's important because again, when you do each of the appropriation bills, it's important because what you can do is you can delve in line item by line item. If there's something that doesn't need to be there, get rid of it. And we've got a real spending problem here in Washington the way it is, and so you can really get into this. But when you do a continuing resolution, all that does is that we're not going to change anything. We're just going to keep going at where we were. And that's not the way you should be doing things. And so, unfortunately, what we're going to be looking at is because they can't come to an agreement that we're going to have another short-term. I always say, even a banana republic doesn't do this, where they fund their government for a week, and then we're going to try to fix it again. But it comes down to that we've got to get this process fixed, because when you look down the road, the year 2030, we're going to be looking at spending a minimum of $664 billion just in interest payments on the debt alone. And when you think about that number being that high, how are we going to afford other things that we need to get done? Because that number is, if nothing changes with interest rates, that there isn't any more, disasters out there like another coronavirus or something. But it's a real problem that we're going to be facing in a very short period of time.
Yeah, it's a very big mess. Now, talk about some of the coronavirus relief that you've heard. I mean, we've been hearing in the news the two different bills right now. Democrats holding up a $900 billion coronavirus relief bill. Mitch McConnell over on the Senate side talking about a near $500 billion coronavirus relief bill. And we're getting closer to the negotiations being complete, but yet still not there. What have you heard, and what do you think is going to come out of it at the end of the day?
Well, the first thing we should be addressing is a bill that we have in the House right now. And what that bill does is, if you go back to the CARES package that we had, which had the Paycheck Protection Program in there that helped 51 million employees out there stay on their jobs, over 5 million businesses in the United States took advantage of it. That program ended on August the 8th, and there was over $130 billion that had been appropriated but had not been expended. And so Pelosi and the Democrats would not move it, so we put something forward called a discharge petition on the House floor, but we have to get 218 signatures. And, of course, we're not in control of the House, so we don't have 218 signatures, but we're trying to get Democrats to sign this, because what we could do is bring that bill to the floor, and we could utilize that over $130 billion to help all of these struggling businesses across America stay open, keep their employees on. And, that's the quickest, easiest thing that we can do right now. Mm-hmm. But, again, the Democrats have played politics with this all the way along. And then you've got some other things occurring out there with one senator coming out with Holly coming out with Bernie Sanders saying that we need to have another stimulus check going around. But that doesn't sound like that's going to get much traction at all right now. So it's, the Democrats in the House had come out with over a $3 trillion package, which was dead on arrival. They had no support or working with Republicans to get that done. They came out with over $2 trillion. That was dead on arrival. They did the exact same thing. It was only for campaign messaging, which didn't do much good. Yeah. And then finally, now they're saying, when Biden is saying, well, you guys got to do something, the Democrats are finally saying, well, maybe we better negotiate something. But the parties are still far apart.
It's so unfortunate, and hopefully we can come to some type of agreement here relatively soon to keep things going. I want to talk about the agenda for and the priorities for next year in Congress. But before we do that, are there any other items that you guys are trying to work on to finish up 2020 before you guys actually have a good foot to get into 2021?
Well, those are the big ones right now. The National Defense Authorization Act has to get done. That's under a veto threat right now because of Section 230, which is a provision for your Twitters and all your social media sites that it's called a sword and a shield, that they can take things down with, but not getting in trouble. But the problem with that is, and I serve on the Energy and Commerce Committee and the ranker on the telecommunications side, that we saw during this campaign as other times that these sites seem to always hit conservatives and taking their sites down. And from Facebook to Twitter, that's been a real problem. So we have to have real reform there. But there's a veto threat from the president on that right now, because it was included in the NDAA that really should have gone through the Energy and Commerce Committee, which I'm a member of. But so we'll wait to see what happens now with the NDAA with the president. If he does veto it, there'd have to be a veto override. It would start over in the Senate, because that's the where it came from, the bill. And then, but the big ones, though, again, going into next year, is making sure we get the economy going. And with the numbers, we could have potentially 213 Republican members in the House next year, which will put really put the numbers close. That Pelosi might have a problem holding some of her people in tough districts from voting with her on different pieces of legislation. But when I look forward into the future, I can see everything that got the economy going in the first place, which was the 2018. You remember when the Republicans brought forward the tax legislation, that we got that legislation signed into law that helped individual businesses out there hire more people, buy more equipment, expand their businesses. But Biden's saying, if he comes in, the first thing they're going to do is go right back into, taxing, and that's going to put, the brakes on everything. So it's so important that, these two Georgia races remain Republican, because we've got to make sure that we can keep the brakes on these disastrous things, everything from abortion to your Second Amendment rights. I mean, all these things are out there that where the Democrats want to, have abortion on demand, to taking away, your Second Amendment rights. It's going to be a tough beginning of a year if things don't go right over in the Senate.
All right, that was Congressman Bob Latta from the 5th District of Ohio. Again, we had a very much elongated interview, so we're going to do a special feature again on the podcast. If you want to go and find The Voice of Reason with Andy Hooser on any of your favorite podcasting sites, we're going to upload that as an additional special feature interview to where you can take a listen to that and listen to another, 10, 15 minutes that we had with him, which we always appreciate. He is awesome to work with. We love him. We love his office. All the power to him. All the best to him, and Merry Christmas to him and his staff and his family, as we have him scheduled again once a month from January for like the next 6 or 7 months. So we're already planned out with him, along with some other really, really awesome guests to kick off 2021 as well. It's going to be a really big year. I'm excited. A lot of big stuff going on. Except, of course, Joe Biden gets in. Then, you know what? I don't know what's going to happen. We'll talk about that when we come back. Stay here on The Voice of Reason.
The Voice of Reason with Andy Hooser.
Hey, it's Andy Hooser. While you listen to the delightful broadcast of The Voice of Reason, don't forget to check us out and follow us on all of our social media sites. Whether you're using Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Minds.com, or Instagram, we're there for you. Find us at Hooser Reason on any of your social media platforms. You'll see special commentary, links to the articles and news that we use on the show, and videos of the broadcast. Plus, you can directly send us a message on social media during the show to let me know your thoughts. Many already do, and it's a great chat room for all of our great listeners. And you can always sign up for the Patreon site to get exclusive content, maybe hear show products before we air them on the radio, and a lot more. And when you support us on Patreon, you also help the show be able to fight for conservative values each and every day. So it's a win-win. Just find us at Hooser Reason on all of your social media platforms, or you can find a link to all of our social media sites on our website at HooserReason.com. We know you're on social media already, so bring some reason into your day. Why? Because it's kind of the reasonable thing to do. Miss part of the show? Don't worry about it. There's plenty of ways to catch the program, and here's how you can do it. First, make sure to tune in every day right here on your favorite radio station. We're here for you. Second, subscribe to the podcast on any of your favorite sites. YouTube and iTunes, Spotify and Google Play, TuneIn, Podbean, and more. Have the show automatically downloaded to your favorite device. Last, visit our website at HooserReason.com. You can listen to the podcast, catch our special features, and more. It's the Voice of Reason on radio, TV, and online, helping you defend and preserve this great republic. Hey, it's Andy Hooser. Want to reach out to the show? A big part of the program is you, and we want to hear from you. Let us know your thoughts of the show, maybe a guest we've had on the program, or my favorite, when you disagree with something that I talk about. You can email me at HooserMediaNetwork@gmail.com or send us a message through our website at HooserReason.com. The show's not about me, it's about you. So be heard and be your own voice of reason. Again, email me at HooserMediaNetwork@gmail.com or find our contact information at HooserReason.com.
Oh, hi. You know, conservative messages now are more important than ever before. Election season, state legislative issues, and a rise in the radical left socialist progressive agenda. What we really need now more than ever before is knowledge and wisdom. That's where we come in. Hi, I'm Andy Hooser with the Voice of Reason. And I'm your voice for reasonable talk, conservative commentary, great guests and entertainment on radio, TV, and the internet. It's time to bring some common sense back into the discussion. National issues, state legislative issues, no matter where you may be, upcoming elections, and a heck of a lot more, we can bring traditional values, constitutional principles, and local activism back. And here's what you can do. First, follow us on all the social media platforms at Hooser Reason. You can watch the live stream of the show, leave comments, and even call into the program. Second, make sure to subscribe to the podcast on all of your audio devices, from iTunes and Spotify to Google Play and TuneIn. Make sure to subscribe to have every episode automatically downloaded so you don't miss a single episode. Third, make sure to visit our website at HooserReason.com. You can catch our monthly blog talking about deeper discussions, see who's coming on the program, plus you can sign up for our free monthly newsletter to catch the latest on the show, monthly topics, upcoming interviews, and more. It's time to be that local activist again. That's what the Voice of Reason's all about. Why? Because that's kind of the reasonable thing to do. And it's time for you to speak up, speak out, speak loud, speak proud, speak the truth, and always speak some reason. Hey, miss a show? Don't worry about it. You have plenty of opportunities to watch, listen, learn, and be entertained with the Voice of Reason anytime you want. And here's how you can do it. First, become a Hooserholic by going to HooserReason.com and signing up for the show newsletter to get the latest on the show, upcoming guests, topical discussions, and more. Next, subscribe to the podcast and have the show automatically downloaded to any platform you like to use. You can subscribe to any of your favorite platforms with iTunes and Spotify, Google Play and TuneIn, or you can also go and subscribe directly to our Podbean website. Last, subscribe to the YouTube channel. Just go to youtube.com, search Hooser Reason, and subscribe to watch all of our shows, videos, and get notified whenever we're live. All the links and info are at HooserReason.com.
Hey, I hope you're enjoying the program today. Be sure to subscribe to the podcast on any of your favorite podcasting sites and have the show automatically downloaded to your phone or computer every single day. Just find us on any podcasting site or go to HooserReason.podbean.com. And be sure to check out our Patreon site, become the ultimate Hooserholic, and help us fight for conservative values every day. Why? Because it's kind of the reasonable thing to do. Now back to the national broadcast of the Voice of Reason.
You're listening to the Voice of Reason with Andy Hooser.
You know, I think that some of the mainstream news source websites should be just as radical or as extreme or as opinionated as like a blog site and taken like just as credible for them. Like CNN, I know people still watch it. I know it's a quote-unquote mainstream news source, but come on. Like, how much can you possibly lie and people just be like, it's fine, it's just CNN, and just blow them off, but still consider them a semi-regular mainstream news source? The headline from CNN, it's turned crazy inside the scramble for Trump pardons, wanting to pardon this person and pardon the whole Trump family and pardon himself and pardon that. You get a pardon and you get a pardon. And apparently the White House is nothing but an Oprah Winfrey show. Which I don't know what they need a pardon for. I get the Democrats are going to try and go, if Joe Biden becomes president, that's a big if. But if Joe Biden becomes president, of course they're going to try to investigate Donald Trump. They want him gone. They want him gone, eliminated, done. They don't like him. They want to pretend that the last 4 years never existed. They want to repeal every single thing that he did. They want to go after him for everything that he didn't do and then pretend that he did just to make themselves feel better because how dare we had these 4 years of darkness in the United States. I just don't get it, because you would think that if he was pardoning individuals, he would be like tweeting about them. Hey, because Donald Trump tweets about everything, even stuff they don't want him to tweet about. Hey, I'm going to pardon them. He did nothing wrong, but just so that way they don't come after him later. Hey, I'm going to pardon you. You would think, too, if the media really wanted it, and if he didn't want it out there, the media would be covering it. And it would be big news. Donald Trump pardons himself today. But he's not. And they're not. This has been the rumor for the last month of, 2 months, really, since October. They're just going to pardon himself. He's going to pardon everybody in his team. Which is really crazy to me. I just don't understand how people actually fall for this garbage any longer. The big news today, of course, was that John Radcliffe, the Central Intelligence Director, said that Russia and China did collude in the U.S. presidential election of 2020. Now, what does that actually mean? That means that we had a foreign interference in the election, which is wild. What do we do about that? We have the Dominion voting systems under investigation in Michigan and Arizona, possibly in Georgia as well. We do have the voter signature audits going on in Georgia as well, so that's happening. All of this happening right to the holiday season, and January 6th being the certification of the Electoral College votes. All of it coming down to the wire, and yet there are some, like we talked to a guest yesterday, that it's advocating for the signing of the executive order that Trump signed a couple years ago, saying that if there were foreign interference, then he could sign that. We would go into a martial law style. We would rid the original election and do a secondary one through the military. We also have the option of Congress that would counter the Electoral College and say that it was rigged, and then we could actually vote and say, no, we're not going to abide by the Electoral College because it wasn't a valid vote. But then we hear the leaders of the Republican Party say things like this.
The Electoral College has spoken. So today I want to congratulate President-elect Joe Biden. The President-elect is no stranger to the Senate. He's devoted himself to public service for many years. I also want to congratulate the Vice President-elect, our colleague from California, Senator Harris. Beyond our differences, all Americans can take pride that our nation has a female Vice President-elect for the very first time.
There it is. So that's Mitch McConnell, the Senate Majority Leader, and saying, you know what? The Electoral College voted. That's it. It's done. It's over. We'll certify that on January 6th and make it official with the inauguration on January 20th. But there still could be a challenge. And the investigation could still be going on. And now, again, the radical position would be Donald Trump signing that executive order saying that there was interference, which obviously there is, as John Radcliffe has said, with the director of the Central Intelligence, and saying, yeah, there is obviously some interference with our elections. I love it because you would think they'd try and make that a bigger story and say, wow, you know what, for 2 elections in a row now, we've seen election interference from foreign governments, including Russia, who got Donald Trump into office. Yeah, right? Yeah, it's a good joke. I wonder why they would interfere in the 2016 election to stop Hillary Clinton from getting into office and make Donald Trump do so, which we found out is completely bogus. And that Hillary Clinton paid for the dossier, and it was all orchestrated by the DNC and then the FBI and CIA and everything else. We know that now. It's absolute fact from all the documents that are out there as well, plus of course, Biden's that are involved with China and with Russia. So they did interfere in 2016 to make Donald Trump a Russian agent, I guess, but yet it didn't when in 2020 now, when Joe Biden, who's gotten money from China, gotten money from the Ukraine, gotten money from Russia, he didn't get any there. And now he all of a sudden has 80 million votes, but he doesn't even remember what the color red is, for crying out loud. And yet he got 80 million votes, but there was no collusion. No collusion. Strange times we live in. Make sure to stay tuned in tomorrow. We got lots more coming up to wrap up the week. Plus, we got the holiday stuff next week, so we'll have some fun with that as well. Plus, we have a new Voice of Reason product infomercial coming out tomorrow, so you're going to have some fun with that and just keep it somewhat lighthearted. Until then, it's time for you to be your own voice of reason. It's time for you to speak up, speak out, speak loud, speak proud, speak the truth, and always speak some reason. This is the Voice of Reason. I'm Andy Hooser. Everybody have a wonderful Thursday evening. Hey, it's Andy Hooser with the Voice of Reason. Fighting for conservative principles seems more difficult all the time. The progressive left seems to find new and creative ways to limit freedom, abuse power, and trample the Constitution each and every day. That's why we need the knowledge, resources, and common sense to push back, and we can help with that. Visit our website at HooserReason.com. There's some really great stuff for you. You can read the latest blog discussing topical issues and current events. Let us know your thoughts by filling out our monthly survey. Keep track of what I might be doing or where I may be speaking. Listen to the podcast of your favorite guest or show, and check out our latest Voice of Reason product infomercials. Plus, you can find upcoming show schedules and guest lineups to plan your radio listening appropriately. And finally, make sure to become a Hoosier-holic by subscribing to the free newsletter. Stay up to date on the latest news of the show, fun facts of the month, and learn new ways to defend and preserve this great republic. It's all there at HooserReason.com. Again, HooserReason.com. Go check it out. Why? Because it's kind of the reasonable thing to do.